Imagine listening to a brand new track that feels like the perfect throwback. The guitars, the keyboard tones, the whole vibe. It's pure 90s to early 2000s alternative pop nostalgia. This track is technically flawless, mixed and mastered to absolute perfection.
Nice.
And it's the definition of a smooth, calculated reintroduction for a band. Here's the mystery. The same track contains an element so unexpectedly bold that it creates a massive conflict for me. It's an approach that is either absolutely brilliant or slightly confusing. And it made me wonder, did this band play it too safe or did they take a risk that paid off just barely? I'm talking about the new single, Sampung Hakbang from the six-piece band of Aurora. Today, we're going to be dissecting the song. We're going to celebrate the technical mastery required to release a track this polished. And at the same time, we'll dive into the creative decisions that kept me questioning the overall impact. Stick around to the end because I'm giving this song a specific rating. And you might want to hear the full story on why this track is technically perfect
These ain't opinions. These are facts.
but didn't quite achieve a high relatively score. Let's start the review. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Usapang Musiko with Ervin Besana, and I'm still Ervin. Medyo nagbago lang yung camera angles natin kasi medyo weirdo ako pag super straight eh. Kasi parang feeling ko para ako nasa what do you call this? Para ako nasa Zoom meeting. So binago lang natin ng konti, and I just want to thank everyone before we before we officially start the review. I just want to thank everyone that tuned in, that watched the video, that listened to my review of Biaya by Dear Juliet. And maraming salamat guys for tuning in, for subscribing, for listening, for providing your feedback. I really appreciate it. If you like what I do, you can follow me on my socials. You can check out my Facebook, Instagram, sa TikTok. You can read the written review sa Substack. And I now have a website. I don't know. I can say that. I have two, which is one is the link tree where nandun lahat, and then the other one is powered by creators for Spotify, or Spotify for creators rather, which is probably lalabasan dito yan sa screen. And basically, we're gonna continue doing this. So you can literally natuloy-tuloy lang yung mga music reviews natin. So hopefully I can get started with doing EP reviews as well, and then album reviews, which is gonna be more fun kasi it's gonna have more character to it, more texture to it. But ultimately, I just want to thank everyone that really tuned in, and nag-subscribe, nanood, nakinig, that really enjoyed the video and really enjoyed its entirety, and literally na nag-comment, nagbigay ng feedback, that is willing to help me out. So maraming salamat, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. And by the time of this recording, or by the time this episode is gonna be released, Off to Aurora just finished their anniversary, first year anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm recording this on a Wednesday or Thursday, and then their anniversary is this upcoming Saturday. So natapos na yun, and I already saw the boys, and they probably already saw this video or this review. So yeah, maraming salamat off to Aurora kay Ma'am JL for the opportunity for me to review the track. And again, if you like what you're hearing or what you're seeing or whatever you're doing or whatever you like from what I'm doing, you can follow me on my socials. You can follow if gusto nyong makinig lang and do some chores, you can listen on Spotify. Tuloy-tuloy lang yon. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music if you have one, and other podcasting platforms na available ako. But if you want to really do videos, or you want to enjoy a more of a visual effect kind of thing, so I'm uploading full episodes na rin sa Facebook and then sa YouTube. So YouTube, it's gonna be more just better resolution lang, kumbaga. Well, anyways, so let's start our review of Sampung Hakbang by Off to Aurora. So, Off to Aurora, formerly known as Aurora, is a six-piece alternative pop band hailing from different parts of Luzon, but mostly in Cavite. The group was able to release their very first single, which is Tulo, and to be honest, I like that much better kasi I'm the alternative kind of guy, and labas talaga yung tunog nila doon, which I'm not really sure if they really intended to release that kind of track or kung ano man, but I really appreciate that. I appreciate that much better. However, since signing to DNA Music PH, which is an ABS-CBN music label, the group decided to sweep that away and start fresh. To be honest, it's a real classic label move, if I say so myself. But nonetheless, the boys have just released Sampung Hakbang, written by the band's guitar player Kyle. I'm sorry, hindi ko nasasabihin yung last name mo kasi baka magkamali. And produced by Angelo Zipagan. I'm sorry kung mali rin yung last name of whosoever recording. Sampung Hakbang started with this flat-sounding drum beat that ultimately was quantized, eventually giving off this coming together feel to the overall track. I'm not really sure what is up with producers these days, but I kept on hearing this, specific style on new songs over and over again. And, as if I can be honest, so for myself, I've heard that dun sa Dear Juliet na biyaya. And aside from that, a couple more songs na narinig ko yung specific style na yun. And to be honest, for me, it's becoming unbearable.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Again, just my opinion. You guys have to chill.
Daddy, chill.
But comparing it to their former single Dulo, which I'm sure DNA Music, of course, will acknowledge, not just yet, honestly, which is a great marketing tactic, ladies and gents. This track is more mellow, calm, and nurturing. Perfect intro for a much, much bigger crowd. Technically, I dig this approach. It has a nice to early 2000s feel because of the elements and the song progression. The classic acoustic guitar tone and the keyboard tone alongside the turned down highs of the guitars created this perfect nostalgia mix that actually resembles, bands like Gin Blossom's Vertical Horizons. Alam mo yung mga bands from the early 90s to 2000s. I'm pretty sure this was heavily influenced by their band manager, which is Imam JL. Kasi she was able to confirm that, alam mo yun, sa mga favorite bands niya is Gin Blossoms. And I have to honestly give a huge shout out to my man Angelo for the wonderful portrayal in the second verse.
It's incredible. I respect that.
The distorted mic effect has completely removed the ick for me. I was coming in with the idea that it's going to be flat. I already have an idea of progressions like that or song progressions like that. It's just gonna be flat out, just one liner. There's no changes that's gonna happen in between. But Angelo created a move so perfectly beautiful that it elevated the song even to a better height. Kasi we're already used to hearing those one liner progressions that it's just gonna be. What I'm saying is that most of the songs from those types of influences tend to be really boring after the second chorus or the first chorus because it's the same thing, no changes or anything. But on this specific track, I really appreciate yung distorted mic effect na parang bumalik ulit siya sa pagiging raw, nag-quantize ulit siya eventually, which huge shout out, man. I really appreciate that. The keyboard lick in this specific section is just chef's kiss. And the single note progression on the second verse coming into the chorus is just immaculate. And huge shout out for that. And the guitar solo after the second chorus closely, super closely resembles the song As Long As It Matters by Gin Blossoms. And again, which I feel like, JL's homage to the music that we grew up listening to. Such a homage right there. And I have to say that she was able to confirm that because it's one of my favorite songs as well. I really appreciate that nostalgic but remembered and unforgettable phrase in a song like, as long as it matters, like Gin Blossoms. It's like, you're being transported back to a much more simpler times. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that homage that JL influenced the kids. Kasi these guys, if you can see, these guys are very young. Kumbaga, they're in their mid to early 20s. And it's good to have that rub na galing sa manager nila, and even with their parents. I'm pretty sure their parents are very supportive of the career that they have right now. So it's good that they have, that rub, that 90s to early 2000s rub, kasi we're missing that day. We really need that type of, that type of influence, that type of sound happening. Now, technically, I don't have anything bad to say. It's mixed and mastered to perfection, which encompasses the relationship that a recording company and a label should have. Other words, if I'm gonna be a label, I want my artist to be introduced to the masses as smoothly as possible. And for me to achieve that is for me to work on things that I have control over, which is, the recording part. Marketing and acceptance will come along once the product is fine-tuned to perfection. So kudos technically kay Angelo of who's recording. Good job. Huge props. Kyle for the song. Huge props, man. Lyrically, the track's main theme is all about love. The feeling of determination and longing. Phrases like, nag-iisip ng dahilan, para kayo matabihan, madilim man ang aking paligid, liliwanag naman pag lumapit, tatawirin ko ang agwat, tutupin ko ang daan, are just examples of like lyrics that doesn't really have depth to it, because it's very simple, but it hits home. It's very close to home. And to be honest, I think I'm conflicted with the idea of how the lyrics were written so bold. Okay, hear me out. So the phrase alone, tutupiin ko ang daan, gagawing kanto ang iyong tahanan. It's not the sweetest line, to be honest. It's not the sweetest line to hear and to write. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to die on that hill. It's not the sweetest line to hear and to write, but weirdly enough, it works. Let me help you prove my claim. And let me help you with what I'm thinking here. Say, you want to be sweet with your significant other. Would you say such a line? Sasabihin mo ba to sa partner mo? Babe, tutupiin ko ang daan. Gagawin kong kantong yung tahanan. Help me help you imagine that. Weirdly enough, I'm a firm believer that there are certain lyrics that should be left alone. And it's much better to hear it in a song or melodically sang rather than, said. And I think this specific phrase alone is part of them. So we'll just take a quick break. But once we get back, I'll continue with the review and I'll get to the bigger picture of my rating, to be honest, and my commentary, my critique of the song. So stick around. All right, welcome back. I want to touch base on the bigger picture here. I can say 100% with all of my heart and soul that Sampung Hakbang is a great reintroduction to the world, but it's not the strongest song of the group. It's catchy and easy to remember, but in hindsight, it's easy to forget because of the common theme. Imagine you're trying to go mainstream and almost all of the common theme songs about love, about longingness, about belongingness, about making your significant other feel special has been talked about. So that's the reason why I'm saying that it's a great reintroduction to the band, kasi the goal is to introduce this group to the masses, but it's not the strongest song if they plan on putting this on an album. I think it's a great reintroduction. It's a great intro. Yeah, it's a great intro song. It's catchy. Again, it's easy to remember, but easy to forget as well because of the common theme. That's the yin yang of things with songwriting and with creating songs. The more common the theme is, the more it's easy to forget and easy to be buried. If bands like Ben and Ben, Cup of Joe, and other bands that has the same common theme that they talk about or they sing about, it has a bigger audience. Can be a classic for some. I can definitely say that. Hell, I like it. The chorus hook is just really catchy. I can definitely say that it has elements that felt like it's just going with the flow per se, not song written wise or arrangement wise, but the overall arch to it. Because again, it's a common theme.
Are you sure about that?
Love is a common thing, and it's always about how can you make it interesting. And I think, for some people it will be a classic because of the use of the chorus hook. Tutupin ko ang daan, gagawing kantong yung tahanan. It's very weird. It's interestingly weird, but it works. And that's why I'm saying that it can be a classic to some kasi yun yung magiging hook eh. Yun yung magiging catch nila na parang, oh ano, it works. Funny enough, it sounds weird, but it works. But, if you look at the bigger picture, this is a reintroduction of the Aurora to the world. And on the grand scheme of things, you don't really want to put all of your eggs in just one basket, right? It's the thing why they're in a label. They don't want to give out the best to keep them coming. You need to keep the audiences coming. And I can really vouch for these guys that they've come a long way. And I've seen them firsthand. I've seen them do gigs, and I know how good these guys are. And another thing that I'm sure of is that this is just a piece of the puzzle, as what I'm saying. Because in a classic label move, albums are the way to go. I'm 100% sure that this is just going to be a piece of the pie of the bigger picture of what they're trying to portray. You guys have teams of marketers, you have media, you have everything to be honest. And I'm pretty sure it's not just one brain that's gonna be working on these guys, but a lot more. So I'm pretty sure this is just, reintroduction, patikim kumbaga. Again, I'm not denying the fact that this is gonna be a classic. Kasi some people will find it quirky, some people will find it really interesting, and it's really catchy. Now, here's the thing, my only hope is that the passion that they have for their craft should not be replaced with fame, money, and what is hip today. As you guys all know, it's a common move na dahil ito yung uso ngayon, this is what's hip, ito yung ipupush sa inyo ng label. And I don't want you guys to do that. I don't really want to drop names, but there are a lot of artists who evolved badly, as sadly as we say. Letting the music take a back seat to inspire activism in sorts of ways that I will not depict because it will be swayed differently. I'm trying to be really clever with my words here. And to be honest, not to hate on that ideology, but I feel like a lot of these new artists are cashing in their commercialization enough to be in areas where they are and they should not be focusing on. I'll just let you guys figure out what I'm saying and instead should be focusing on the music, which is more often than not. You guys have to understand, this is just for me, this is just my critique. And everyone that's going to be listening to this, every artist, every labels, every marketers, every PR team, or whatever you're doing in the industry, real music is living in the indie circuit, not the mainstream. You have to believe that. If you're in it for the money, and if you're in for the fame, if you're in it for what is hip today, then I'm sorry, you're just gonna drown your sorrows away like the same old mainstream guys right now that are cashing in their mainstreamness just to make sure that they cash in the fame and the money. But hearing the music, it sucks. It's really bad. It doesn't have substance to it. There are a lot of mainstream artists right now that has really bad music released, but when they were just starting out, it's really good. Then they sign with a label, music took a backseat and they're voicing out their political opinions, their freedom to do whatever they want, which doesn't make sense. And then you can see that in classic label move, most of their fan base are people that was paid to listen to their music, but there's really no fans left. They're just appreciated because of the songs that they released before, but right now, they're just part of the bigger scene because again, they were able to make it, but musically wise, no, it's just trash. So my prayers, my hope is that these guys off to Aurora will never and will not have the same fate that these trashy artists are experiencing right now. To be honest, it's gonna be another topic for another day. But to sum it all up, I would rate this a hard 7 out of 10. So yeah, that is it. That's my review of Sampung Hakbang by Off to Aurora. Let me know. Let me know what you feel, what you think about my review, about my commentary, my critique. Feel free to check my socials, follow me on my socials, and then listen to the episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, watch it on YouTube and Facebook. Again, maraming salamat guys. I really appreciate it. And you guys take care.